Welcome back to La Gringa y La Chapina. I am La Gringa Hadley Bajramovic, and La Chapina Zayra Ivette Padilla is joining us from the jungle. She has power today, and we have back as a guest and my associate Layla Parvis, attorney at law here in the office. And ladies, what happened today?
So surprise happened. We all
Yeah,
expected.
yeah, especially from Texas, it's always there.
Yeah, what we're talking about is the lawsuits that were filed today. I think they were filed today, right, Layla? Were they filed
Yes,
today or yesterday?
yes.
From a group of what we're going to call red states. I read an article from ABC that somebody forwarded to me, and I read it. I was furious. I mean, I feel sorry for everybody that was around me in the moment I read it because the buzzwords that they used made me so mad. I mean, they called it amnesty.
Yeah. It's just like, just I think
Can
one
they
thing that
do their
was,
own research before they do, post something of such importance like this,
yeah. I
instead of
think
like
they
calling
copy,
amnesty that happened in the late 90s?
I think,
Late early 90s.
I think they were copying, pasting a lot of language from the DACA cases and DAPA cases too.
Yeah,
Like it was just like a lot of copy paste,
I know. That's why I was like, I mean, like, I mean, this is something that helps spouses of U.S. citizens that
Exactly.
already have a right to adjust. It just makes it faster and,
Yes.
prevents it's called keeping families together. And the reason for that, for people who don't understand, is that you have to leave the country and go to a very scary interview and come back in, and it causes people a lot of anxiety. That's not an amnesty. I mean, this just allows for people who are already in the process to do this inside the U.S. How is that an amnesty, people? How can you call that amnesty?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's not.
they just have to come up with whatever they want to come up with just to like
Mm-hmm.
make it sellable to a Texas
Yeah,
judge.
yeah. To we
Mm-hmm.
know who, because I was hearing, I was reading Trump's tweets. Well, Kamala, I'm doing the same thing. Kamala's speech, and she would say like something like, I don't know. But he was responding in real time by tweet, and it could have been, my 10-year-old daughter 20 years ago writing those same tweets. They were so juvenile, but he is always tweeting about letting the millions of criminals into the United States and upsetting people and having them believe that the people that are coming at the border are all criminals. And that's a completely separate immigration issue from the keeping families together, which is about spouses of U.S. citizens. I mean, a lot of the spouses that we're dealing with are spouses of military veterans or active military personnel or people wanting to go into the military. These are people that are first responders in the pandemic and educated people and people who've been here their entire lives, who have children going into the military.
But been paying taxes and
Yeah,
doing everything
yeah.
possible to be able to get something for them. Like, we had last week this gentleman that was very like emotional about it because he's like, I can't believe you're telling me that I'm going to be able to get a status finally after being here for like almost 30 years, so it's just, doesn't make any sense. How could that be a bad thing for this country, besides, all the filing fees, all the processes that are going to be involved, and how much is going to help just like this person getting a better jobs and everything like that. So it just doesn't make sense how this could be a bad thing for this country.
And not to mention, going back to the taxes, our clients all pay taxes,
Yeah.
all of them. sales taxes, federal taxes, state taxes, and guess what? They're not entitled to the benefits. So they're subsidizing the US citizen who is getting benefits. And I mean, that's just common sense. I mean, if our client goes into the grocery store and buys groceries, they're paying taxes on the groceries, or Starbucks, or the fast food. That just takes common sense to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
They're not being exempted from paying a sales tax because they're undocumented. No, heck no, they're paying it.
And then one of the part of the complaint that just made me laugh was they were talking about, oh yes, first of all, it was just saying it would discourage people from coming because when they see like these laws like this, then it's gonna discourage people from coming.
I
So
didn't
that
know
was
that.
like, yeah,
That's just
and then
dumb.
yes,
Dumb.
Well, they're talking to also people that really believe whatever they say. So they're gonna be like, "Oh, this is gonna encourage more immigrants to this country." Like, really? Don't you know the three requirements that they need to have? Just cross the border today and you'll be eligible. No, it doesn't work that way.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah. That person in Guatemala is going to take that trip on the Beast on a train or
yes,
through a coyote and pay everything that their family earned over 100 years and practically starve to death, go into dehydration, get bit by
die in the
snakes.
desert.
Yeah, that, and then go straight through, and then they're going to find a U.S. citizen to marry and hope in 10 years they're going to pass the same law.
it gets even better. There was another part that said that was like part of the complaint that was saying, um, what was it? Oh, it was saying that if they this injunction or whatever they're going to do, it causes these people to leave, and this is going to alleviate these states from some of these burden that they are having. But
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
really, these people, this benefit is specifically for people that have been here at least 10 years. Do you think that if they take away this benefit, they're going to say bye? No.
No,
Oh my
no, they're just
God.
going to continue with the process that they already have.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess, yeah, it's easy. In the land of the blind, the man with one eye is king.
Yeah.
Yep,
I
yep.
mean,
Just
And
say a few buzzwords.
yeah, so
it
they
was
they
just
if they don't go with this option, they're gonna go back to consulate processing, which that
Mm-hmm.
means going back to their home country. And like Hadley said, this is a process that is nerve wracking. I mean, it's very hard for people that have been here for 20, 30 years to leave the US. And like, I mean, just for anybody, just think about like living your entire life that you have built here with very hard work and going back to your home country and taking a chance of getting stuck there. My brother-in-law went through this process with my sister, and my sister was pregnant. He spent more than a year out back in the day, which it was supposed to not take that long. But they went to this very popular notario place in Riverside. Of course, they messed up the case, and then he ended up staying more than a year out while my sister was trying to keep the business that they have, her being pregnant. So it's very difficult and heartbreaking, and for people to think that, oh, we just want to take the easy cut, or whatever, like come the right way, or whatever it is that they say. It's just they have no idea what we have to go through.
And your sister's a U.S. citizen, right?
Yes.
So imagine if this was happening today. They would have no chance of getting her vote for taking this
Mm-hmm.
away from her. And there are 550,000 U.S. citizens with spouses that are eligible for this. That's 550,000 votes lost today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I hope they're thinking about that. I mean, these people are so smart. They stopped DACA from moving forward, and they ended DAPA. But I mean, back then, those families, I'm sure they were calculating that they were mostly undocumented, right?
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
these are spouses of U.S. citizens, 550,000. So I guess the silver lining will be if they do enjoin it and stop it, then those 550,000 people are going to vote for Kamala Harris, and it'll end Donald Trump's. And it'll be over, and they'll just have to keep playing games like this with the courts. But we've already had, since I found out about this morning, probably 3 consultations with Biden PIP. And we're just, the only thing we can say, the only thing we know is that if you get your application in as soon as possible, then you have a chance of moving forward, even if it's in joint. And Layla, maybe you can tell me what your thought is, but I'm using like a concept of promissory estoppel or reliance. If somebody submits an application, they pay a fee, they kind of entered into a contract with the government, that they're going to process this benefit. And so there's a reliance issue. I don't know. I don't think they can. I believe that, and after what happened with DACA, that the case will be processed as long as it's filed.
I think, it really depends on the administration, but they can purposefully deny it. Let's not deny, delay it. So it's in there, but they're not processing it type of situation, which, maybe then that would be for another avenue for the litigators to do mandamus or anything like that. But yeah, we are definitely in an interesting time.
Yeah.
Especially it looks like they have done such a streamlined process for this.
Yeah, I mean, the Facebook groups of one group that Varisha, who's part of our office, was telling me, there are people supporting each other who are applying on their own. And she saw people say, I did mine today. It took me 20 minutes. That's probably true. I don't know if they got all of their evidence in, but, my theory is just get it filed, pay the fee. And if the burden of proof on the evidence is not met, the government will ask for that evidence later, like in a request for evidence. And the USCIS will send, we call it the dreaded RFE. But the RFE also tells us what the officer, the point of view of the officer adjudicating the case, because they'll usually say, we have received evidence from you proving that you've been here for these years, but we don't have enough evidence for this set of years. Please provide the following types of evidence, including but not limited to. So it gives us a roadmap of how to respond. And as long as we respond within those parameters, they're provable. So that's why my position is get it filed. Yeah. Don't wait until you have all 10 years. Just get it filed and submit the evidence later when the government asks.
Yeah, I think that's a smart way to do it right now because of this injunction. It's just like you said, just file it and, we'll just wait for the request for evidence instead of what if they just, tomorrow or whatever, it's just better for you to do it now. And we've been encouraging about this almost every day with our podcast and saying, please file, don't wait. This is why, because we knew this could happen and fortunately happened already, but it's just don't wait, just do it as soon as possible.
So Layla, which state filed it? I mean, there's not an injunction yet, right? Can you explain that?
Yes, I can read all of the states. Of course, it's like Texas, but they are, Arkansas, Tennessee, North Dakota, South Carolina, Idaho, Florida, Georgia,
Hadley.
Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Missouri, Ohio, South Dakota, and Wyoming.
Is Alabama there?
Yes.
I'm from Alabama.
Yes. Both the states that you live and study Hadley are part of this list.
You know what? Please don't judge my state by this because I grew up there. I'm a very liberal person, so I'm proof that state is not totally red, like anti-immigrant.
Yeah, I'm surprised North Carolina is not there.
I know. That's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
One day we'll have to dissect that.
Yeah, and they have this part of the complaint that, they go through every single of these states. It talks about, okay, in this state, there is this amount of illegal immigrants, and there are like this amount of people that qualify for this relief. Like, I was just impressed that they have all these information.
Yeah, I wonder what the source is.
Yeah.
Immigration impact.
Yeah, we were told that in South Carolina there were approximately 3,000 undocumented people. I'm like, no way, no way. And
Oh,
then we went and looked at the court because I think North Carolina has the immigration court in North Carolina has jurisdiction over North and South Carolina, and it was more like 150,000.
Mm-hmm. That sounds more accurate.
Yeah,
I think it's called Migration Policy Institute. Like they get
I think
this.
that's a MAGA group.
It's probably.
If I'm wrong, I apologize. Maybe we should find out before I say something like that.
Yeah,
Let's look it up because I want to know their numbers.
okay.
It's a
So for
think tank.
South Carolina, MPI estimates there are 9,000 unlawfully present aliens in the state of South Carolina who are married to a U.S. citizen and who would therefore be eligible for the PIP program. And then it goes, it's like South Carolina has approximately 88,000 illegal aliens living in the states, and they cost the
How many?
taxpayers 88,000.
Okay. And they cost the
then
taxpayers what?
more than 471.3 million a year.
And they probably pay about 2 billion a year.
Yeah.
I notice how that number is left out.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Migration Policy Institute, and it claims to be independent and nonpartisan. So my apologies on that. Just to
Okay.
correct the record.
Yeah,
But
they did it for every single states. This is a 56-page complaint.
well, everybody, this what we recommend is to file if you're eligible. File right away. This, by the way, doesn't seem to impact the Dreamer policy that Biden announced, which is really not anything new. It's not a new access, like keeping families together is giving parole in place to spouses of U.S. citizens. The Dreamer recommendation is for people who have a 2 or 4 year degree from a U.S. university. They're eligible for expedited waivers. So they have to follow the same process as before the Biden announcement. If they have a non-immigrant visa, they would have to leave the country, go to an interview, and apply for a waiver at the interview. And the policy just allows for an expedited adjudication of the waiver. That's always been available. So I don't think that's mentioned at all, is it, Layla, in this complaint?
Yeah, I didn't see it. It's mainly the focus is on this. Oh, this is putting too much on us and it's costing us. But my favorite part was, you know, these people are gonna leave. And I was like, good luck.
Well, I remember around when Trump took office a decade ago, I remember all the fruit and the crops rotting in the fields in Alabama when they passed a super aggressive anti-immigrant law that basically made criminally liable anybody who even looked at an undocumented person. And that ended because the crops weren't being picked and, the work wasn't getting done. Because apparently the jobs that undocumented people do, the average American doesn't want anything to do with that job.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't last an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, back-breaking work, bending over, picking strawberries. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And really, I think what sometimes I feel like, they really like these people that file these kind of as part of this complaint. They really, I think, secretly they don't want these things to even become legalized, or like this kind of path exists, because their benefit, their interest is like, these things, these people remain illegal, and so
Yeah,
that they can basically get their strawberries,
like
manage the costs and everything at a lower cost. I think
Mm-hmm.
even though they are like hardcore, oh, they're taking the American job and stuff like that, but they have a hidden agenda.
yeah. And I value your opinion of that, Layla, because I grew up here. And Zara, you too. You guys see things a little bit differently than I do because I can't see everything because it's just part of my background noise. And I think things are more obvious to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, growing up here, I mean, in the U.S., especially in the South. I grew up in a segregated South, and it was painful, some of the things that I saw growing up. And now, it's happening to undocumented people, the things that were happening to African American people when I was young. And the other thing, go ahead, Layla.
I was just saying, bottom line is, you know, whoever listened to this podcast, you may not have any immigration problem, but you may be a U.S. citizen. You may know people around you. Like, we have to
Exactly.
vote this year. Like, everything just boils down to this in this election.
And that's sort of what I wanted to say in a different angle. Like yesterday, I did an event at a church, and there were hundreds of people there, and I'm sure that they're living in a community with U.S. citizens where the U.S. citizens have no idea they're undocumented. So the people this affects are your friends. They are your neighbors. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So yes, get out and vote. It's the most important year ever with Project 2025. Did you guys see Keenan Thomas go through the Project 2025 book?
Yes, it was very
Oh,
funny.
oh my gosh, Laura, you have to watch it. He was like, "This how this Project 2025 is going to affect the average American," and he like pulled out different parts of the Project 2025 and called average Americans and said, "You know that this is part of Project 2025, right? They're going to hike the prices on insulin. You're on insulin, right?" And when I heard all of that, I'm like, how could anybody vote for Trump? It's just so, shooting yourself in the foot. I don't understand. And people, what I saw happen, what everybody in this office watched because it was relevant to what we do, was we watched Trump kill a bipartisan border bill that was going to bring in technology to stop the flood of immigrants coming over. I know Kamala Harris and Joe Biden had a bipartisan plan where they worked with some of the most conservative people in Congress to pull together something they all agreed on. And Trump called in all of his allies, Mike Johnson, and said, "Don't pass that bill because I need this issue. I need this border to be open and dangerous for my reelection." And like you said, if people researched, they'd find that that's 100% true. That's not propaganda. That happened, and we watched it happen in real time. And we're like, oh well. But
Yeah. And here is another thing that is, because I see this narrative about, like, okay, yeah, we are all for legal immigrants, but, like, not illegal immigrants, right? And then, I have this conversation on a daily basis, like with someone, like, let's say in a student visa, like, oh yeah, like, and then they all like demonize, like, the person that come at the border sick for asylum or something, like, oh, those people. So then I finally, one time, I got frustrated and I say, okay, look, you are, you're a student, but I'm sure you are also looking for ways to remain in this country. That's why you want to get green card or something, right? Then what's the difference between you and this person? Like, Because you when you came here, you told that officer that you want to do your study and come back to your country, but now you're looking for like permanent option to. So what's the difference? You know, if it's about the law, you're also
Mhm.
technically breaking the law. So yours is just looks fancier because you know you spend all this money, you know, you had the means to come here and everything, but
Mhm.
you know the same thing like you know asylum it's provided.
That's exactly right, Layla. Melania Trump was doing, I call it the TJ turnaround. She would fly back to Slovenia. I mean, I've heard this story and how they gloss it over, but she was on a B1, B2 or visa waiver program or something, and she'd leave every 90 days. But she was living here. And guess what that is? That's a violation of immigration law. Yeah. Oh, good. Okay, I've got a lot of stuff to watch, and they're calling us back to the trenches. Layla have to go. Yeah, we have a lot of work to do in this fight, getting back to the figuring out how to get people PIP before they join it. But I don't, maybe they won't. Chances are they won't. 50-50. What do you think, Layla? Yeah. Okay, that is a very good perspective. And that's how we'll end. And we're here to help you guys get through it. So thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Today is Friday, August 23rd. And